Alright guys, today we're going to be talking about the iPhone 14 versus the iPhone 11. Do you guys need to upgrade? So we're going to go over the pros, and you guys can sort of make the decision if you guys see this being upgrade worthy of your money. So let's go ahead and get started here. So let's talk about the price. The iPhone 11, one of my favorite older iPhones to recommend to people. They're going on Amazon for around $323 right now. The iPhone 14 will cost you $829 on Apple's website, so a very expensive phone. So let's go ahead and get started with the build quality. So actually, and I've said this in multiple videos, I actually do prefer Apple's older way, or their older design of the curve. It just feels way more comfortable in the palm than the boxy sort of thing that they have going on now. It still looks great and everything, but this just feels so much more comfortable. So that's something that I really wish they would go back to. As far as the size of these two phones, you can see about the same size. They honestly feel about the same weight as well too. These are two really light phones, which is really nice. You will notice a much bigger camera module here, which we will talk about. The cameras are very essential to this upgrade, so I want you guys to take a look at these side-by-side stills. Did you guys even notice a difference with image quality, or is the image quality a difference enough for you guys to upgrade? But as far as the design, they're both still premium glass and metal phones, and they both still look really good. Now let's go ahead and talk about the displays on both of these phones. The 14, it does have the Super Retina XDR OLED display. It is HDR10. It is 800 nits brightness, and then 1200 nits peak brightness. It is at 6.1 inches, 1170 by 2532, 460 for the PPI, and it does have a slightly smaller notch. The iPhone 11 has the IPS Retina display. It's 625 nits brightness, also 6.1 inches, and then it's a 720p plus display, 326 for the PPI. Looking at both displays here, very similar. I mean, honestly, the only thing that stands out is a slightly smaller notch. As far as the screen quality goes, I don't think the average person will really be able to tell the difference. Yes, the iPhone 14 does have a higher resolution, and it is an OLED panel, but that's pretty much it. As far as like looking at these two phones, just looking at like icons and everything, they still look really sharp on the iPhone 11, and they look about the same on the 14. So I would say colors are better, and the iPhone 14's display is actually slightly brighter because it does get up to 1200 nits. This gets up to 625 nits. But your average person won't really notice that much of a difference. You will notice, as you guys can see, slightly slimmer bezels, and you probably still can't notice that. But yeah, so not too much going on with the screen. They didn't give it the new pill cutout, the 14, and they didn't give it the 120 hertz. So I don't think the average person will really notice much of a difference with displays. All right, let's talk about the power on both these two phones. Both of these phones are running iOS 16. You do have the Apple A15 chip on the 14, and then you have 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM. The 11, it does have the Apple A13 chip, and then you have 64 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM on the base models of these phones. And you can see here are your single core and multi-core scores here. So basically, if we get into just a little basic app test here, both phones feel pretty similar in terms of performance. We'll go ahead and launch Subway Surf again. They both actually feel more similar than I would think here. You would think. And iPhone 11 beats the 14 somehow. You can see both super smooth in terms of performance. Like I said, you really will not notice a difference, the average person, unless you're like a hardcore gamer. You play like Genshin, stuff like that. You're really into games on your phone, then you'll like that extra power. But sure, average person just scrolling, swiping, gaming, even as we're gonna see, it's gonna be pretty much the same. They feel the same, honestly, guys. We'll go ahead and launch PUBG. Let's try a bit of a heavier game here. See if we see a difference there. You can see the 14 jumping out ahead here. And 14 in there. That was pretty quick. And then the 11. So you guys can see what I'm saying. Not that big of a difference. And also, if we go ahead and just look at the graphics on both of these phones. Oh, I'm in another game. Oh, I'm on the same account, I think. Not sure. But yeah, if you go ahead and look at the graphics, you can see we can do HDR Extreme on both of these phones here, and they both play very smooth. So, like I said, if you're playing like hardcore games like Genshin and stuff like that, then yeah, you'll like the extra, power. But if you're not a hardcore gamer, it really won't matter because the iPhone 11 is still going to play super smooth. We're at HDR Extreme, holding that 60 frames very smoothly. So, in my opinion, it's just not that big of a difference in terms of performance. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the speaker quality, max volume, starting with the 14. Yeah, there is a slight speaker upgrade here, which I'm surprised actually. So the 14 does sound a little bit louder and has a little bit more bass to it. Yeah, for sure. So there is actually a speaker upgrade, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, the 14 does have a louder and the bass hits a little bit heavier as well. Both of these phones have the Face ID on here, which works flawlessly. They feel pretty much the same. I can't really notice a difference in terms of speed. They both can do the face unlock with the mask on as well too. So yeah, so as you guys can see, sort of the theme here is that there's not too much of a difference going on with these two phones. I do want to go ahead and talk about the image quality because I think that's what Apple is trying to sell its users on, is the image quality. So let's go ahead and talk about the specs. So with the iPhone 14, we do have a new sort of dual camera setup. It has a 12 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. And then we also have the cinematic mode on here. You can also do cinematic mode on the front facing camera as well too. It shoots in 4K 60, and then you have a 12 megapixel, and this is also a new 12 megapixel that does autofocus on the front too. And it also shoots in 4K 60. So the iPhone 11 does have a dual camera setup as well. It's also a 12 megapixel standard and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K 60 with a 12 megapixel selfie cam that also shoots in 4K 60, and obviously you're missing on the cinematic mode and stuff like that. But how do the side-by-side stills compare? Be sure to let me know, because I think this is pretty much the deciding factor for a lot of people. If you don't see a big jump in image quality, then you probably shouldn't upgrade. Here's a video on the 14. Alright guys, here's the video on the iPhone 11. ultra wide. All right, so lastly, we're going to talk about battery life. So I will give credit to Apple. This phone does have some really excellent battery life. So it's got a 3,279 milliamp battery. You do have the MagSafe wireless charging in your standard wireless charging. The iPhone 11, it does have a 3,110 milliamp battery. And then you also have the wireless charging, but no MagSafe wireless charging. So basically, you will get better battery life on your 14 for sure. I'm just getting better screen on time. I would say the iPhone 11 gets you around 6 hours, which is a day. But the 14, just for the average person, you can probably go a day and a half with this phone. So there is an improvement with battery life. So is the upgrades enough for you guys? Be sure to let me know what you guys thought about image quality. Basically, just to wrap it up, the real kind of upgrades is really, I guess, kind of the screen, right? It's OLED now, it's higher resolution. But I wouldn't say the chip is a real upgrade because the 11 is still really fast. And the cameras I thought were way too close, in my opinion. Yes, the 14 did have better shots. But like I said, was it that much better? Because there's no like telephoto lens. Is the cinematic mode enough? So it just it really comes down to your personal preferences here. So be sure to let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.